they are also women. This is voting rights for all. And of course she had got the green light for that. So when the Donamo report was made, they granted universal suffrage, including all women over 21, and there was a bit of an uproar on the conservative side. A lot of opposition saying we don't mind limited franchise for people respectable like our wives, but we don't want all the riffraff and hoi polloi getting the vote. They were very much against it. And they said giving it to the men is bad enough, but now you're giving it to all the women. So there was a bit of a tension there, but anyway it came into force. It didn't result in many women getting into the legislature, which was the state council. 2 women came in on the deaths of family member. Midenia Adiga, I think, was one of the members. He passed away, and his daughter, Adeline Mullamure, came into the state council, and then Dr. Saravanamuthu, who had won, was disqualified, and his wife Nesam Saravanamuthu also contested the next election, and which was held because he was disqualified. She won it.
So these were the first women to...
These were the first women
state council.
who would take them.
And amongst the conservative group that was sort of irked by this development, I mean, did it include people like D.S. Senanayake, D.B. I think we referred to them also, apart from Ramanathan?
Yeah, they were careful not to sound extreme like Ramanathan and offend everybody, including their family members, no doubt. But they were not going overboard, like A. Gunasinghe, the Labour leader. He spoke out very strongly. So did Agnes de Silva's husband, George de Silva. There were radicals who spoke out definitely that all women should have the franchise. So this question of women in the legislature continued, because then there were 50 members in the state council with 2 women. That percentage is still there today, which is 5 to 6%, which is one of the big issues of today's feminist movement.
Dr. Kumar, before actually getting to that question, I just want to ask about how Buddhist nationalist groups sort of impacted on feminist issues. People like Dharmapala, were they also...
Well, Dharmapala admired some very militant theosophist women, especially Annie Besant, and he often quoted her. She had led strikes in England and all the rest of it. But as someone said about Annie Besant, she wore shoes in England and sandals in India. So once they came here, a lot of the theosophists were a bit quiet on the women's issue. They didn't come out openly. And what they were doing in England, they didn't do here. So Dharmapala, there was no issue for him to oppose, because he would have realized, I think, that just because you give women the vote, it's not going to change things too much. That you're not going to have a total upheaval because of that, because these are women who are wives of men who influence them, and patriarchy is in place. And I think that realization, I'm speculating here, was at the bottom of many of these people keeping quiet on that issue.
On the question of women representation in Sri Lanka, as you said, the problem still persists. What is your approach to that question? Is it a question of establishing a quota, or is it perhaps something more complex? Or?
Well, feminists over many decades now have been lamenting that not more than 5% in parliament then and now are women, and saying, well, how do we rectify this? The parties don't give nomination. There is a feeling that women can't win. That's one famous politician said, we don't mind appointing women candidates, but can they win? And there's a general reluctance to move too much ahead on that issue. So the feminist stand is that you have to have a quota, and it varies. Sometimes you ask for 30%, sometimes slightly more, but that there should be some way, and they cite other countries, of getting a much larger stock of women into parliament, which they feel might make a difference.
And you would say that the sort of the prominence given to Mrs. Sirama Bandaranaike, figures like Mrs. Sirama Bandaranaike and Chandrika Kumartunga, that didn't mean that there was total emancipation or there was ready acceptance of women.
Yeah. Having a woman leader doesn't, because she's usually there because of some family event, assassination or something which has propelled her into politics. So one has to take that into consideration. But generally the public, I mean, one would have thought the public would say, how can you have a woman prime minister? In fact, when it happened, many people were surprised, but they let it go. Probably knowing that whether it's a man or woman, a person with similar interests, that there won't be a very radical change.
Finally, Dr. Kumari, what would your advice be to emerging or young researchers on feminist studies? Is there any sort of area that you would sort of emphasize on? Or?
Yeah, well, you see, the women, as Sheila Rowbottom said in a famous book, have been hidden from history. We never knew what happened earlier. I think more studies of that, I mean, superficially, lots of people have done and dug in a bit and said, this woman did this and that woman did that. But that is to be done. And studies of women in leadership, what actually happens and how, and the whole issue of how to pressurize the governments to rectify, or how to make them see that this is a anomaly and this is something bad in our country, is not to have adequate women in parliament and in the provincial council and in local government, where it's very, very poor statistics still.
That's all, Dr. Kumar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.